Hello everyone, my name is Gavin, and this will be a video on how to use the same thing I was actually talking about yesterday. The ability for the player to click on a section of the map and have the player follow to that point. But we're going to be using a NavMesh instead of just a random tracking actuator. So I'm just going to get started. So let's double click the A button until everything is selected and hit X and delete, and hit 7 to go into top view, and let's do spacebar and then add a plane. Alright, hit S and 10 like this. And I'll actually just rename this as map to indicate that that's the floor. Let's add a new material. This material for the floor, will let's say it's yellow. And let's go into edit mode right here, click on face select mode, and let's hit make sure this main face is selected by right clicking on it. And hit W and subdivide, W subdivide, W subdivide, W subdivide. Hit A to deselect everything. And hit B as in boy and drag over these four corners and select this portion right here, and then let's just make a simple map. So you can have maybe a map section cut out here, a map section cut out here, and something like this. Alright, once you have these little areas highlighted, hit this plus sign, hit new, and let's add a new material. I'll call this one red, or I'll label this one as red. And I'll hit assign with these faces still selected, and you can see it highlights those points. And hit E and extrude. So if you hit 7 to go on the top view, we've got our map like this. There's our map. Alright, let's now go from defaults to game logic and go from Blender render to Blender game. Right click on your map, drag this panel out, and click on this icon right here. And with your map still selected, untoggle or open this window and then hit build NavMesh. So we should see we have a navigation mesh right here. Alright. Now that we have this, let's add our player, or add a torus object by doing spacebar and then add a torus. This torus object, I will put the material as, let's say, green. Or actually, I'll have the material be red. We'll have the mouse visible though, so it won't confuse with the wall. And let's start scripting for our torus. So let's add an always sensor, and a mouse sensor. This mouse sensor we named as mouse over, and the mouse event will be mouse over any. And let's add another mouse sensor. This one will be called click. I'll have tap selected, and I'll minimize this. And let's add a Python controller like this, and connect it to the portion I've highlighted. Alright, now that you have this, let's do templates, Python, and then game logic simple. Sorry, this panel is not coming out. Templates, Python, game logic simple. Delete the portion I've highlighted. And hit Control and scroll up on your mouse to make your text larger. And I'll just call this script.py. That'll work for this video. And I'll add this right here. Alright. Next, what we're going to do is I'll just make the mouse visible by doing from BGE import render. And let's do render.showMouse. Like this, and let's put 1. So we should see we can see the mouse in our game view. Let's now define our mouse over and our click sensors. So mouse over is going to equal controller.sensors mouse over. And click is going to equal controller.sensors click. Alright. What we're now going to do is have if our mouse over is .positive, so if our mouse is indeed over the game view, we're going to have own.world_position is going to equal mouse over.hit_position. Position like that. And if we're not hovering our mouse over, we're going to set the object to invisible. So own.setVisible, visible 0 like this. And if we're hovering our mouse over, we'll set the visibility to true as well. So we should see that if I hit play, that torus is going to be wherever I hit the mouse, and if I move off the mouse, it's now invisible. Alright, I'll actually put map as the property for our mouse over. So right click on your game floor now and add the property map to it. This just makes sure that only if it's hovering over the background object, or in this case the map, will the visibility be set. Okay. Now that we have this, what we're going to do is, just like our other video, let's have a cube that's going to be placed wherever we click in the map. So let's do spacebar and then add a cube. I'll drag this cube up, and I'll drag this cube out, and I'll scale this cube down. And I'll call this object click object, like this. Let's add a material to this new click object. And this click object will, let's say it's an obvious green color. And I'll select shadeless down here as well. And what we want to do is make this a character game object. The reason why is that for NavMeshes to work, the object being tracked to has to be a NavMesh, and so does the object tracking. So let's now import the scene into our script. Scene is going to equal bg.logic.getCurrent scene, like this. And we're going to have click objects is going to equal scene.objects click object. Alright, now that we have this, what we're going to do is have if our mouse is over a game map and if we click, so if click.positive. Actually, let's have a variable called position, or let's see, I'll just call this object position. Position is going to equal mouse over.hits position. And the reason why we're doing this is we want to have it so that whenever we click the mouse button, we're going to have the click objects.world position. So click objects.world position, or actually dot position position.x is going to equal objects position dot x. And what we're essentially going to do is have it so that whenever we click, it's going to add it just barely above the game floor. So we're going to have the click object.position.y position.y is going to be equal to object position.y, and then click objects.position.z, so the z-axis one is going to equal object position.z plus 1. So we should see, if I hit play and click around, you'll see it drops a little bit before it hits the floor, and that's what we want. So I'll scroll this out so you can see, because we want to have it so it's not stuck in the floor, but that it's just dropping up from above it. And you can see it gives the impression it's doing this. Okay, now that we have that, let's now add our object that will do the tracking to, or essentially our player object. We're doing spacebar and then add a cube. This cube will be named as player, and I'll apply a blue material to our cube, like this. Let's add character physics to our cube as well. And let's add an always sensor in our player. And let's connect this always sensor to a, what's it called? A steering actuator. Change it from seek to path follow. Use our target object will be the click object, and we'll be using the NavMesh. Click this N, the axis will be Y, and let's visualize. So we should see, if I drag this cube out from the floor, just a little bit, we should see, these are not connected, my bad. Connect your always sensor to your steering actuator, and we should see that our cube is going to track to it like this, but wherever we click around, it's going to be navigating around the NavMesh. And I'll actually select the velocity to be, let's say, something like 10, turn speed 180, etc. So we should see, actually I'll set this back to 120. So we should see our cube kind of will track around, and I kind of built my NavMesh kind of poorly, but you can see how this works in context with the game engine. Alright guys, so that is how you use a NavMesh and clicking around the map to have a player follow to it. I hope you guys find this useful. I'll show you the script for one more second. It's a bit longer than usual, so I'll scroll down. Alright, so define your scene, and to get the click object into the scene, define your two sensors. If you're hovering your mouse over the game view, you want to have the world position of the torus object, the circle, equal the mouse over .hit position. Set the visibility of the torus to true. And then have your object position variable is going to equal whatever the position of the mouse is. And then for the position of the click object, just have it be one above on the z-axis, and that should work. I'll zoom in on this. And alright guys, thanks for watching.